This is Bill Gates. From his early days, he displayed an aptitude for computers. In 1975, he dropped out of Harvard, co-founded Microsoft, and built a tech empire that created thousands of jobs. Later, he founded the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, now one of the world's largest charities, with an endowment of $75.2 billion. In 2010, Gates and Warren Buffett launched the Giving Pledge, promising to donate half their wealth to charitable causes. The foundation funds clean energy, climate solutions, and global health programs, including COVID-19 vaccine development. On the surface, it seems like Gates is the perfect example of an ethical billionaire. But here's the twist. Is their generosity as altruistic as it seems? See, this is exactly what they want you to believe in. And this is the exact reason for billionaire philanthropy. I'm gonna give you an example. Suppose there's a guy who steals $100 from 10 people and then gives back $50 to 1,000 more people. This sums up billionaire philanthropy. There's two things at work here. First is that the money they donate is still pretty huge on paper for an average folk to comprehend. Secondly, giving that money to more and more people creates this sort of effect that the person is helping more people than he is exploiting. Because of this, a lot of people also might think that, well, these big billionaires are taking money from pretty decent salaried workers and giving them to underprivileged people in Africa or India somewhere, which a lot of people might consider as a good thing. It creates the illusion of generosity while diverting attention from deeper systematic problems. But the things I said till now are just the beginning of the show, because billionaire philanthropy is even more scandalous than it seems like. Look at how these billionaires are playing this charity game. The US law requires private foundations to donate just 5% of their assets annually to keep their tax-exempt status. The other 95% stays invested, often in ventures that continue to make the billionaires even richer. For example, if a foundation creates a funding of $10 million, it only needs to donate $500,000 per year while the rest accumulates wealth. This setup enables billionaires to reduce taxes while maintaining control over how funds are distributed, instead of those funds contributing to public services. So, what does that mean? It means they are basically doing the same thing they would have normally done with their money, to invest more in companies to generate passive income. It's just that by using this method, it's even better because they are getting tax exemption and they are only liable to use 5% of the allocated money. By channeling their money through a foundation, they avoid taxes that could have otherwise funded public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And that is an overall bad outcome for the society. That 5% might have helped some people, but if you think about it carefully, the tax that the government could have got would have helped people even more. And believe it or not, despite governments having their own sets of problems, I would trust them more with the social and economic issues compared to private enterprises, because the government is elected by the people and it has at least some sort of accountability. Meanwhile, the corporations just want to fill their pockets. They are not to serve the people ultimately. Also, historically, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation invested in major oil and gas companies, including BP, ExxonMobil, Eni, and Shell. In 2007, reports indicated that the foundation had invested approximately $423 million in these firms. These companies have been associated with environmental pollution and significant contributions to climate change. For example, in the Niger Delta, companies like Eni and Shell have been implicated in extensive gas flaring, leading to severe environmental and health issues for local communities. So while Bill Gates is praised for his charity, his foundation's investments contradict its clean energy claims. This is the scandalous truth behind billionaire philanthropy. The main point you should take out of this anyways is that ultimately, even if you remove the scandalous part that I mentioned, giving is not an equitable substitute for wages and taxes. It is a distraction. And I use Bill Gates for example, but there are other folks as well who regularly engage in this sort of thing. It's not to confuse that charity in itself is a problem, but the reason behind doing the charity. Let's move on to the reasonings that a lot of people give when talking about how someone can be an ethical billionaire without exploiting people. One of the biggest arguments in favor of billionaires is that they create jobs. The logic goes like this. Without billionaires investing in companies, starting businesses, and taking risks, millions of people wouldn't have employment. They claim that their wealth trickles down by paying wages, funding new industries, and driving innovation. But what often gets ignored is who actually creates the value. Is it the billionaire sitting in the boardroom or the workers who generate the wealth in the first place? It's as if the billionaire is giving workers a favor than the other way around. Believe it or not, every person on the company is dependent on each other. There's not like someone who is literally carrying the whole company to generate massive profits. Everyone is just filling their own roles. When I hit the gym and do exercises for my biceps, for example, if I use my hands separately, I might lift 15 kgs per hand. But when I do with both the hands, mathematically, I should be able to lift 30 kgs combined, right? But a lot of times, I might even lift more than that. And do you know why? Because of the synergy of both of my hands. And that's how companies generally work. And that's how teams work. And that is the reason someone creates company, right? Otherwise, everyone would do their own thing. And it probably might not be that effective. A lot of people say that billionaires deserve their money because they worked harder, took risks, and outcompeted others in the market. The argument is that if they weren't offering something valuable, people wouldn't be paying them. But here's the problem. Markets aren't always fair. Billionaires don't just compete like everyone else. They often control the game. Many of them use their money to buy out competitors, create monopolies, and influence laws to keep their wealth growing. For example, big companies lobby politicians to pass laws that help them avoid taxes or block smaller businesses from competing. Some billionaires use their influence to get government bailouts, on which I can make a complete video on, by the way. Don't you think that there are a lot more people other than these billionaires who can offer people value? There certainly are. And in a lot of instances, a lot of these billionaires aren't even the ones who offered value. These billionaires hired people who generated value for them. Now the most important point, that is the answer of this video. Can we actually be an ethical billionaire? And the answer is no in my opinion. Maybe, well, it could be yes if you somehow found a magical way to be a billionaire without exploitation. There is almost no possibility to be a billionaire if you did not apply any of the tricks that I mentioned above. This system thrives on exploitation. Workers are often underpaid while billionaires amass fortunes. The idea that billionaires deserve their wealth because they took risks ignores the fact that without workers, their risks would be worthless. You cannot just deprive people of the money that they deserve and call yourself ethical. Just think about it. Is it possible to earn $1 billion just by being a solo freelancer or something like that? Maybe if you are an actor or a singer who manages yourself completely, then in that case, it could be possible. And that too is very hard to think about. Ultimately, there is not an objective answer to how much you can earn without being unethical. It depends on the type of work you do. There could be a possibility to be a billionaire if there is somehow a way that you can generate $1 billion without exploitation. Well, good luck finding that. Then sure, there is no problem. But till now, what history has taught us is that capitalism thrives on exploitation, and there are no ethics in that.